we're talking about the third temple. This is the Dvar Malchut. This is a speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in the end of 1991. End of 1991. And it's in this week's Torah portion, talking about the blessings that Yaakov gave to his 12 sons. But the Rebbe brought that into talking about the 10th day of Tevet, which was a fast day, which we just finished by the Rebbe. When the Rebbe was speaking, it was still before the fast day. This was with this Rebbe in 1991, so it was like 30 years ago. So the calendar was a little bit different, and how the days of the week and the days of the month fell out. It's different. It goes different from month to month. So, but nevertheless, the Rebbe is saying that the 10th day of Tevet, which is the beginning of the fasts, which remind us that there was the destruction of the temple, was really only a preparation and a teaching to us of how to get our act together, Jewish people, to prepare for the third temple and to bring the third temple faster. So, first of all, the third temple is the third temple. The third temple that's going to be built by Moshiach is called the third temple, Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi. Right? So the first one is the first temple, the second, and the third temple is number 3. So the Rebbe said that the first temple and the tabernacle, that corresponds to one of the 3 metals that were used in the Holy Temple. In the Holy Temple, especially in the tabernacle, which the Jews had when they were in the desert, in the first 440 years when they were in the land of Israel, it was made from different materials, and there were 3 types of metal that were used. Metal that were used: gold, silver, and copper. Iron is forbidden. Iron was forbidden to be brought into the temple and to use in the temple. Iron was forbidden. to build the temple, it was forbidden. Except for the knives. There were the knives that were used to slaughter the animals. That was made from metal. But except for that, the building of the temple, the building of the tabernacle, and of the temple also was not, iron was not used. And so the Rebbe said that corresponds to the first set, to the tabernacle, the first temple, the second temple, the exile that we're in, and the third temple. The tabernacle and the first temple, that is symbolized by gold. The second temple is symbolized by silver. Second temple was not as holy as the first temple. The exile that came after the second temple, that is symbolized by copper. In Hebrew, the word for copper is nachoshet. It has the word nachash in there. Nachash means the serpent that tricked Chava and is tricking us for this last 2,000 years. But the third temple will be iron. Iron is forbidden. That's the whole point. The third temple is going to be how we have transformed the bad things in this world to be good. It says Barzel of Kedusha, holy iron. Therefore, when we transform all the bad to be good, so there won't be any bad, there won't be any death, there won't be any limit to life. Therefore, life will be eternal. That's going to be the raising of the dead. And the third temple will be eternal. Now, this seems a little bit hard to believe, which it is. So therefore, but nevertheless, that's what belief is. True belief is something that's above understanding. But the only reason that it's hard to believe, and we think, 1 second, we're going to live forever, that's going to be pretty boring. The only reason that we even think in those terms is because of the serpent. If we would think just 1 second, if you just think about it 1 second, how lucky we are to be alive, right? A person that, God forbid, was in a danger, And he came out and he said, every second that you're alive is a gift. You're not thinking about, well, maybe I'm going to die in another minute. Right? How long is this going to go on? You're happy. You feel good. You feel alive. You feel yourself. You feel some harmony in life. You feel that you are receiving a big gift. And you're not thinking about, oh, I'm really bored, right? I'm alive. I'm really bored. Right? You think about what you've got and not what you haven't got. Life is an amazing gift. We don't appreciate it. In the time of the third temple, we will appreciate it. That's when it's all the bad things, the negativity, the depression, and the aggression, and the diseases, and all these. They won't be there anymore. It'll just be pure, good life. We'll see that God is creating us. So that's going to be in the third temple. Barzel, now it says, and we're talking about the third temple, this idea of Barzel, which is iron. Iron is Barzel. If we talk about this in the terms of Hasidut, Barzel are the first letters, the initials of Bilhah, Rachel, Zilpah, and Leah. Who are those people? Bilhah and Rachel, that Rachel is the wife of Jacob, and her handmaid, who she gave to Yaakov to also be a wife, because she saw she wasn't giving birth to children. So she gave it and Zilpah and Leah are also two wives of Yaakov. Yaakov had four wives, right? Leah and Rachel, and their handmaids, which were Zilpah and Bilhah. They gave birth to the 12 tribes. These are the Rosh Tevas, these are the initials of Bilhah, Rachel, Zilpah, and Leah, which are the four wives of Jacob, that they are the mothers of the 12 tribes of Israel, and we are Israel. Who connect them and corresponding to them, there are these four levels, Bilhah, Rachel, Zilpah, and Leah. That's holiness. They are corresponding to, and they are the transformation of the four levels of what's called feminine aspects of klippa, of evil. Like it says in Og. Og, it says Og was the king of Bashan. Og was the big giant. That in the end I'm sorry, that Moses killed before they went into the land of Israel. It says Arso Eres Barzel. It says his bed was a bed of iron. His bed is the bed of iron. Where is it? It's right in the beginning over there of the Torah. I'm sorry, it's the end. When it's talking about how Moses is repeating the Torah, and he's talking about how they went into the land of Israel and they killed Og. They killed Og. His bed is the bed of iron. That's a sentence in Devorim, right in, what is it, in Etkhan? Near the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy. Shehein, that they are, that this is the Umatzah, the Barzel, that's the bed of Og, who was a big enemy of the Jewish people. His bed was also Barzel. This is the opposite side of the mothers of Judaism. So, like we said before, everything God made holy and mundane. And the mundane eventually morphed into the enemy of Judaism. It was supposed to be that the mundane was a vessel for Judaism, and it ended up being the opposite. And with the Hosif, Teheran, Shagam, Sidran, the order of these four mothers of Judaism, and which is Barzel, Bilhah, Rachel, Zilpah, and Leah, is not in the order of their importance. Bilhah is the maidservant of Rachel, and she comes first. And Zilpah, she's the maidservant of Leah, and she also comes before. Shivcha lifnei gevirta, the maidservant before the master, who is Haseder de l'Umatzah. This is Barzel, this is the order of unholiness. The Shivcha, namely the servant, the Frankenstein, goes on its master, right? Ki tirash gevirta. It says that when the handmaid conquers her mistress, right? The people overthrow the government. That's why the Alter Rebbe was so against Napoleon. He wanted that the people should overthrow the kings. Not that the kings were, anything special. The kings were also big, the sinners and evil people and disgustingly low people. But the masses were worse. The masses were worse. Because if the king is a bad king and he rules over everybody, so you have only one bad person. But if the people rule, then you have everybody's bad. So that's the side of bad, that you don't have, there's no one above me. I'm the highest. That's the source of evil. That's barzel, that's iron in the bad side, that the mistress is before the master. The servant is before the mistress. Servant overtakes the master. That's the thing. Bilhah is a servant, and she's before Rachel. Zilpah is the servant, she's before Leah. We can say that's the side of bad. We can say that in holiness there is also this order of Bilhah, Rachel, Zilpah, and Leah. The same thing is that the servant comes before the master for a good thing. How? Back then, to begin, Malas and Imahos, Lagavia Avos. All right, the Rebbe is talking about here, I'm sorry for this, how we can transform bad to good, death to life, evil to holiness. How can we transform? Not just to eliminate bad. We're talking about transforming it. Like it says in Abraham, let's talk in general how the women are higher than the men. In general. Because what are we saying? Barzel is bad. It shows how the servants come before the master. That's bad. Bilhah is before Rachel, etc. That's bad. But we transform it to holiness. It's the same order. Bilhah is still before. How can it be? It says sometimes that order is really good. And also remember that this order of transforming bad to good is talking about the mothers of Judaism, not the fathers of Judaism, the mothers. So there's an advantage to the women over the men. What? Take an example, Sarah and Abraham. Sarah said, get rid of Yishmael from the house, kick him out of the house. And together with his mother, Hagar. And Abraham said, nah, let him stay. And God said to Abraham, whatever Sarah says, listen to her. You have to listen to your wife. A wife is supposed to be subservient to the husband. The husband is supposed to be the master of the house. Says that's the way it's supposed to be, but sometimes that's not the way it should be. If you are the master of the house, things are not going to go right. Your wife, whatever she says, listen to her. Shahaya Avram, that Avram was secondary below Sarah in prophecy. When it came to prophecy, you have to listen to Sarah. Al derech, like something lamamad a matzav, like it's going to be in the future. It says in the kavus of his gever that the eshes chayla teret bala, that the lowest sefirat Malchut, in other words, the physical world, will be higher than all of the spiritual worlds. Like it says, sof masa b'machshava techila, that the end deed, the lowest physical things, they rose up in God's thought first. That's why God made all these spiritual stages and levels, because he wanted the physical world. When the physical world reveals its true source, so it's higher than all the spiritual. So the physical world, that's like the feminine, Mother Earth, and it's higher. Shema'ayin zeh, it's the same thing by the fathers. Like it says, Shlosha Ta'imi, it says there's three that God gave the taste of the world to come, the raising of the dead in this physical world. Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Each one, it says by them, Bakal, Abraham, says Hashem blessed Abraham Bakal, and Bakal, Mikal, Yitzchak was blessed with Mikal, and Yaakov was blessed in the term Kal Asher, everything that Abraham had, that Yaakov had. It says similarly, we see the okay, so we see again, that the end is higher than the beginning. The end, somehow or other, is higher than all these spiritual levels that there are. So the mothers, they represent the lowest aspect. They, in their source, are really higher. Similarly, is also regarding the handmaids in regarding to their mistresses. Bilhah is higher than Rachel. She was the servant. Yes, in some way, yes, she is. Bilhah comes before Rachel, and Zilpah comes before Leah. Kamosh Ketuv, like it says in Rachel, Shenatna, Shivchata, Yaakov, she gave, Rachel gave her servant to Jacob, that she said, I will build from her. That the mothers, Rachel and Leah, they are what's called Malchut of Atzilut. They represent the lowest aspect of the highest world. Shfachot and their servants, their maidservants, they are Malchut, how it comes down into the world. So Rachel and Leah, they represent the lowest aspect of holiness. And their maidservants, they represent the highest aspect of holiness coming into the world. So Rachel and Rachel and Leah, Rachel and Leah, they are the lowest aspect of godliness, how it is connected to God. And the maidservants, they are the highest aspect of godliness, how it comes into the world. Al Derech says similarly, it says Eben Maso Abonim Yasol Rosh Pina. It says that the stone that was rejected by the builders became the head of the head of the building. Sha'avot, that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that they're the builders, they built the world. They built the world by means of their wives with the maidservants. They did not want to on their own marry the maidservants, because Shemaso Birida, the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they didn't want to marry the maidservants because the maidservants represent godliness, how it comes into the world. And they didn't want to come down into the world. They wanted to maintain their high holy status as it was. And that's the whole idea of the maidservants. And nevertheless, by means of their wives, the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we're talking about Yaakov especially, by means of their wives, Yaakov was forced to come down into the world. That's Malchut, how it comes down at the Bria Yitzir and Asiya. This is what made the building and the elevation of God's kingship completely. Shifcha ki tiresh gevirta, that it comes down into the world. In other words, the maidservants become higher than the servants. The maidservants become higher than their masters. Not only do they become higher than the masters, they're the mothers of Judaism, they even become higher than the husbands. They become higher than Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob coming into the world. Okay, so what do we see? Judaism places a special importance on this physical world, and this physical world is expressed only by the lowest things in the world. The godliness in the world will be expressed only by the lowest things in the world. Of course, this has to be done according to the Torah. But nevertheless, the Torah tells us how to use the physical things in the world. Where do we get this ability from? Says the Rebbe, from not the fathers of Judaism, that's true, but the fathers of Judaism, they brought it into the world through the mothers of Judaism. They gave birth to the tribes, and more exactly to the maidservants of the mothers of Judaism. The lowest becomes the highest, and that's the idea of barzel, of iron, holy. Even though it's the lowest of the metals, but still it has the ability to, and it comes down low, but when it is transformed, that reveals the highest. Similarly, it's also explained regarding the Holy Temple. Mavor is explained in the teachings of Hasidut, the reason that the Holy Temple was made of stones. Not like the tabernacle that was made from wood, atzeshitim. Cedar wood was the walls. Until that you can't you're not even allowed to build the holy temple with any wood that sticks out. There could be wood that was, it says, immersed, it was hidden. Because that is something like the complete, like in what's going to be in the future, when the aspect of Malchut will be above Zer Anpin. Stones will be higher than the spiritual. The tabernacle was built in a spiritual configuration, that on the top were animal skins, and below that was a lower form of life, which was cedar wood, and below that was the ground, mineral. We talked about that, remember, in the couple of weeks ago in Torah Or. But the third temple, the first and the second temples, and also the third temple, were built by stones only. Why? Because stones represent the lowest aspect of creation, and in there specifically is the highest. It says that the lowest aspect, Malchut, will be above Zer Anpin, will be above the emotions of God, the spiritual aspect. Like we said, Eshet Chayla Teret Bala, a woman of valor will be the crown of her husband. And therefore, Nivna Ba'avani, therefore it was built with stones. Therefore, the third temple is built with stones. Domim, mineral. Shamora, that this indicates al Sfirat Malchut, on the lowest of the 10 aspects of godliness, Malchut. And it wasn't built from cedar wood, which is plant life, which or indicates on Zer Anpin, the emotions of God, growing, feeling spiritual, being big. But nevertheless, the first and the second temples, although they were built from stone, but they were not built from iron. Iron is below regular stones. Iron shows on Malchut how it comes down to Bria Yitzir and Asir. We'll talk in a moment. Here we go. We can say that the holy temple in the future will be revealed really the high quality of God's creative power. Not just how it is in Atzilut, in potential. Atzilut is the highest of the worlds. But also and mainly how it comes down into this physical world. In other words, where is God's greatness really seen? In this physical world? We don't see it now, but it will be. That's the idea. It's almost the same thing like we had the example, where can the greatness of, Rachmaninoff, the great composers, where can it really be seen? In pieces of wood. What? Yeah, because pieces of wood, you can make violins, you can make cellos, you can make basses, right? Pieces of wood. You can make all the reed section, the pieces of wood. The wood expresses the greatness of these great composers. It says, yes, specifically, of course, the wood has to be made in its proper way. But a piece of wood, what's it got to do with the genius harmonies and melodies and things? What's it got to do with those things? Those are spiritual ideas. Even animals haven't got those ideas, right? The highest ideas, even most people don't have those. There's the greatest of greatest composers. Where is it expressed? It's expressed in pieces of wood, pieces of metal, right? The brass section. That pretty much sums up the whole entire orchestra, right? Is wood and metal, right? I think all the other, there's no instruments made of it. Maybe there's ivory keys on the piano or something like that. And wood and metal is the whole thing. That expresses the beauty of music, of these fantastic, orchestras says, yeah, the same thing as godliness. Where is godliness expressed? Specifically in the physical world. But here, godliness, it's even more. The lowest of the things can, if used properly, express the highest. Iron. Iron was not allowed to be used in the making of the Holy Temple because iron is used to kill. Killing is a terrible thing. Killing is like the opposite of the Torah. It's true that in really unusual situations that killing is allowed and it's even a commandment. There's death punishments which are almost impossible to administer. War, in times of war, you could do it, but that was undesirable. Killing is not a good thing. And that's what iron represents, is killing. The opposite of the Torah, the opposite of God. That's iron. Specifically in iron, when it's transformed, will be revealed the highest. And that's what it says, a praise of the land of Israel. We can say that the Holy Temple will be revealed, the highness of Malchut, that's what we said, of Barzel, that's even stronger than stone, iron. The land of Israel it's called the land of Israel. It's called Eretz Avenel Barzel. It says that the stones are iron. One of the praises of, in what is it in Parshas Eikev? Al derech, similarly, like we said, the highness of the maidservants over the mothers of Judaism. And there's the lowest, Zilpah and Bilhah, were the servants of Rachel and Leah. And Rachel and Leah, they were the wives of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were supposed to be the big holy ones, and they were. But somehow or other, their holiness was not really expressed in the world through them. It was through their wives. And the wives also not totally through them, only by means of the maidservants coming first. That comes to be the word Barzel, Bilhah, Rachel, Zilpah, Leah. That's the completion of the building of Malchut in this physical world. Okay, like we say, you have to be aware of this, because a person can make a mistake, think, oh, the lowest thing is really the highest. So, sins are higher than mitzvahs, commandments, right? Death is higher than life. That, of course, it's a way of thinking, but it's wrong. It's a destructive way of thinking, because it's not according to the Torah. What is according to the Torah? That this physical world, there are ways of using this physical world, the lowest part of the physical world, even iron that causes death, that it can be transformed to be higher than anything possible you could possibly imagine. And to find that key, to find that way to do it, that's the idea of the Jewish people. Maybe we can also say that the completion of this iron barzel of holiness in the Holy Temple, the third temple, will come not just lorak bechozek betokef anitzchut, but also bekach shebinyano yiyeh garma barzel. That this holy third temple, its greatness will not be just the fact that it's going to be so powerful and that it'll be eternal, but something about the actual building of it with iron. That iron itself will be part of the building of the Holy Temple. Now let's explain this. It says that in the tabernacle, in the temple, it says that the Jewish people brought a lot of materials, especially in the tabernacle. It says that the Jewish people, they had all this riches from Egypt. They came out of Egypt and they brought all of the riches from Egypt. And when the army of Paro was drowned in the sea, it says that they brought all the riches with them. They thought they were going to have a big party and destroy all the Jews. They were going to rejoice, like the Hamas was rejoicing after they broke in and massacred all those people in that rave party in Israel. They were rejoicing, happy day. The Egyptian soldiers thought that they were going to make a big rejoicing. They took all their treasures with them, and when they drowned, God miraculously washed up all these treasures on the other side of the Yam Suf, of the Red Sea, you want to call it. And the Jews, they got richer from that than they did from all the riches they took out of Egypt. So the Jews were tremendously rich and they had everything. But strangely, they did not bring, for the temple, it says, Barza Lokati, they didn't bring iron in the Mishkan and the Mikdash. Shehichrid Beit HaMikdash, and when the temple, because the iron destroyed the temple. This refers to the first temple and the second temple that was destroyed by means of iron. They came with weapons of iron, right? Iron knocks down stone. Which is not the case. The third temple will be eternal and it won't be destroyed. It's not even worried. There's no even possibility that there'll be any iron that can destroy it, because iron represents death and killing, and all the iron, the power of killing, will be transformed. Because in the future, there won't be any more evil iron, evil sword, cherav ra'ah. There won't be any such a thing. Ubamela, so automatically Yochol Liot B'tzorech, and it has to be binyan of the building of the third temple would be from iron. Kedei, in order to hadgish, in order to stress the highness and the completion of the transformation of iron, that which destroyed the first and second temples, which is iron, will be part of the building of the third temple. The Yeshlam, we can say that Moshiach, that what it says in the Dvar Yomim, in the book of Chronicles, regarding to King David when he prepared the building of the first temple, because King David didn't build the first temple, but he made all the preparations and all the plans. As Hachinosi Lebeisa Elokei Zav, Elokei Hazav, he brought all the. King David said, "I have gathered together all the gold for the gold in the temple. I've gathered together I've amassed silver for the silver of the temple, and I have amassed copper for the copper of the temple, and I have amassed iron for the iron of the temple." That's what it says over there in the book of Chronicles. Barzel, and iron was even more than everything else. It says iron was Mea Elef Kikarim. There were 100,000 bars of iron. And this is only preparing for the third temple, because the first and the second temple were not built by iron. Iron was not even allowed to be built in them. So if so, why did King David amass so much iron? Because of the third temple that will be built by David Malka Mashiach, the David King Mashiach. Shebinyana, that it will be not just from gold and silver and copper, in the ultimate completion of those three metals, but also from iron. Now, the third temple is going to come from heaven, but it's going to be physical. So how iron is going to fit into that, just like any other thing physical will fit into that. How is it King David, he prepared for the third temple, for the first temple? That was like almost 3,000 years ago. Huh? That was almost 3,000 years ago, King David was preparing for the first temple. So he prepared all this iron. Where's the iron? Where is it? Where is it? So obviously he prepared it, and it's waiting, and it's ready, and it'll come down, and we'll see when what happens. According to this, but it's going to be built from iron. Or at least that'll be one of the main ingredients. According to this, we can say that the whole idea of the 10th day of Tevet that we just spoke about, this is the beginning of the building of the future temple, what's going to be in the future. And even though we can, what happened? Yeah, there we go. Okay. Hari, behold, Beit HaMikdash, Hari, cave, and since that the intention in the destruction of the temple was by means of this, there will be built a better temple, the third temple, an eternal temple. So it comes out that the beginning of the destruction of the temple was also and mainly the beginning of the third temple. This is hinted at by the connection that it says that Nebuchadnezzar laid siege to the land of Israel, to the city of Jerusalem, and God told Ezekiel the prophet about it when he was thousands, whatever miles, hundreds of miles away in Babylon. He gave him a message, a prophetic message, and God said to Yechezkel, today Nebuchadnezzar is laying siege to Jerusalem. What's the sign? Take a big frying pan of iron barzel and make it as a iron wall. And this will be a sign to the Jewish people. The intention is that the purpose, he's trying to tell them that the whole goal and the purpose of the destruction by means of iron will be to build the iron to the bad iron, evil iron, is in order that there should be, after that should be revealed the completion, the true meaning of iron, of holiness in the holy temple. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Transforming everything to good. No, it doesn't work. Okay.